Hello and welcome back to the channel for another weekly watches. All it took was for me to say something. I thought Molly was coming there. You've just... There, you can see some ears. We only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We only have 6 things this week to talk about, but unlike last week, sorry, I shouldn't have moved that camera. Unlike last week, this week, most of what I've watched was actually really good. So, without further ado, let's get into what I've watched, and let's remember to record our screen this week. So first of all, I watched a movie called House of Darkness. That's a 2022 movie with Justin Long and Kate Bosworth. I think when Justin Long's in something, usually it's pretty decent. I think this was the lowest rated movie I watched this week, although I will say I still enjoyed it. So, driving home to her secluded estate after meeting at a local bar, a player out to score thinks his beautiful, mysterious date will be another casual hookup. Basically, Justin Long can't believe his luck. This woman's stunning, she's beautiful, she's dressed quite old-fashionedly in a white dress, she lives in a beautiful big castle-y type mansion, she brings him back. This story is very slow. It's mostly conversation. We also meet Kate Bosworth's sister in this, who is just as beautiful, just as alluring, just as strange as that character. Let me show you what people I know have rated it. So you can see, you go up to a 3.5 for some people and then down to a 2 for others, with a 3 being average in the middle there, and that's exactly what I rated it. I would say it's worth a watch if you're patient. There's not a massive lot that happens apart from conversation in the movie, but everything that's going to happen happens at the end. It is quite predictable. I think most people, when they start watching this, will get where it's going, but it's October, it's Halloween. Give it a watch if you haven't seen it. It's a decent enough little movie. So the next evening, and I'm not going to talk about this because there's a review on Geek Legion of Doom's channel of this is a documentary called The Rev. I knew nothing about this case. It covers something that a very unassuming middle-aged reverend in Wales did. So it's like a true crime thing. It's really well put together. It's really interesting. It's a story that I had never heard of before. But what I liked about it, as well as it being interesting, is actual effort and thought went into how it looked, how it was shot. So there were some really beautifully shot scenes in there. So yeah, I will recommend The Rev. It's a true crime story. It's a documentary. If you're interested to know a bit more, pop over to Leo's channel. I will put the link in the description if I remember, and at the end of the video. So that's The Rev. So on the same evening, now this is one that had been out a little bit before I watched it. It's one that myself and my husband both wanted to see, but I was sort of trailing watching it because it's just, I don't know, it's a bad taste story. It's a true story. This is called The Reckoning. It's I believe it was 4-part. Each part was approximately an hour. This is about Jimmy Savile. Now, if you're in the UK, I don't need to go any further. If you're outside of the UK, in the US, Jimmy Savile was a massive UK personality. He started as a DJ. He got a position on a show called Top of the Pops, which was a massive music show in the UK. He went on to have his own TV show, very popular, national treasure, raised a shocking amount of money for a specific hospital and other charities. And when he died, he had a full state funeral, which is something that royalty have here, but I can't actually think of anyone else that's had that. Massive honour that he had, maybe prime ministers. And it came to pass after he died that he had been abusing kids, he had been abusing young teenage girls that he had access to via these pop shows. He had been doing things to patients in the hospital and the children's ward. He had even been doing things to corpses. So this has got everything in it. It's a true story. Jimmy Savile is acted by a British actor who most people know for comedy called Steve Coogan, who is amazing in this. It is like watching Jimmy Savile. When you see him from the back, the voice, he's got it spot on, but he is very good at impressions. But this just shows how good Steve Coogan's acting is. It's not a very nice story. It's very difficult to watch in places. I sort of had to sort of push myself to watch it, because every time I thought about sitting down watching this, my skin crawled a little bit. It's also a bit, at the minute there's just so many stories coming out in the press, in the media about different, in the UK, about different TV personalities, about presenters, about politicians that have been found to have a history that isn't too pleasant. And this coming out at the moment, when all that's going on in the background, it's just, sometimes you just want to bury your head and like not have that in your face for entertainment. So it is a difficult watch. It's extremely good. It's detailed, but there's some little bits and bobs it doesn't go into if you know the true story. So some artistic sort of license has been taken in places, but it's worth watching for Steve Coogan's performance. So that's The Reckoning. It's a 4-part show. I gave that a 3 out of 5. I just found it really, really hard to watch. Perhaps if we're talking Steve Coogan's performance, that should have been a 5 out of 5. But given that there's little bits that I felt were really important that they glossed over, that they perhaps didn't go into. I suppose you can't go into everything, but I felt there were certain things that were more important that they should have went into. And the BBC, sorry I'm talking too much about this, the BBC are the people that have put this documentary out, and they are the same TV company that hired him, that made him famous, and that quashed what he was doing. And they very much glossed over their own knowledge and involvement and how they covered stuff up. There's a very famous clip, have a Google, of the Sex Pistols being interviewed, and Johnny Rotten makes a comment, and this goes way back when no one had any idea, way, way, way back, and he makes a comment in an interview about the BBC hiding what individuals like this guy were doing. But yeah, I would recommend it, but it's a difficult watch. On the 11th, and finally, The Hunt. So if you've sort of watched other videos on my channel, you will see I received mail from Jamie Powell, and in that mail was a copy of The Hunt. This is a movie I've been wanting to see for a long time. I've had it recommended to me I don't know how many times. I really like Mads Mikkelsen as an actor. I tend to stream everything. I know that's like blasphemy, but I do, because we don't collect, we don't have room to collect. I did once upon a time, I maybe will in the future, but not right now. So I just had never found this movie, and Jamie actually sent me a copy of this to watch. I knew nothing about the storyline, I didn't know what it was about, absolutely nothing. What do we say about this one? I think most people I know will have seen this. So the synopsis is, the lie is spreading. A teacher lives a lonely life, all the while struggling over his son's custody. His life slowly gets better as he finds love and receives good news from his son. But his new luck is about to be brutally shattered by an innocent little lie. My necklace is off to the side. So I give this a 4.5 out of 5. This is superbly put together. This is complete food for thought. This is the complete opposite of your Jimmy Savile story from another viewpoint. I don't know how much to say about this. Mads Mikkelsen is a teacher in a nursery school. He works with very young children. He is a lovely guy. He gets on really well with the children. He just comes across like a really nice guy. Him and his wife is split up. He's lost custody of his son. He's sort of going back and forth with her to try and see his son a bit more often, or have joint custody. And one of his pupils, who's very young, has a little crush on him. And when he tries to very gently let her down, she makes him a little heart. She gets quite angry and impulsive, as kids do, and she says something to another teacher that is the start of absolute hell for Mads Mikkelsen's character. This just goes to show how lies can spread, how people's name can get completely ruined. His performance in this was absolutely stunning. What he went through, how his friends treated him, everyone turned their back on him. I think everyone I know has seen this movie, so I'm sort of talking a little bit about it because every blogger keeps saying you need to watch The Hunt. I didn't know what it was about, and I wasn't expecting that whatsoever. But it was a fantastic performance, and I'd love to see Mads Mikkelsen in more. sort of like, when I say mainstream movies, more English language movies, because people tend to not want to, a lot of people don't like to watch subtitled movies. The least fun I've had watching a Mads Mikkelsen film was when he replaced Johnny Depp in the, what's that thing, the spin-off of Harry Potter.
That one.
He was the bad guy in it. Nothing wrong with his performance whatsoever. I just wasn't really invested in the movie or the character. But if you're a fan whatsoever of Mads Mikkelsen, please seek out his own language movies. There are so many of them that are so good. There's one called Another Round. There's another one, the one that you love, that I've forgotten. I keep forgetting the name of.
I've forgotten the name of it as well.
But seek out Mads Mikkelsen's Danish language films, because
I can't remember what it's called.
I know, we do that all the time. So The Hunt, 4.5 out of 5. I rarely give something that high a score, but it really, really made me think, and it really sort of like twists your perspective. And I find when I watch a film, sorry, Molly's waving a paw at me. When I watch a film, I'll always put myself into the shoes of a character. And when something that we usually see from the other side, you think, right, if I was that teacher, if I was that friend, if I was that mother, what would I be doing? What would I be thinking? And yeah, it's definitely a very good movie. So it was worth the wait. People were right. You wanted to come onto my knee then? Come on then. So the next evening I watched a movie called Flora and Son. This is
Riders of Justice.
Riders of Justice is that Mads Mikkelsen film that's really good. So Flora and Son, this has got Joseph Gordon-Levitt, which is why I watched it. I quite like him. And Eve Houston, who I did not know is Bono from U2's daughter. So this film started off and I really liked it. So talent is relative. Single mum Flora is at a loss about what to do with her rebellious teenage son. Her efforts to keep him out of trouble lead to a beat-up acoustic guitar, a washed-up LA musician, and a harmony for this frayed Dublin family. So when I read the synopsis, I thought that her son was going to learn to play this guitar that she'd bought for him, and he was going to find himself, blah blah blah, and that's not what it was at all. This is very working class Irish, which is why I really liked it to start with. I liked her character. She's very blunt. She says what she thinks. She's quite vulgar of mouth. I just find her character really fun. Her son is just at that age. He's finding himself. He's getting into trouble. She has split up with his dad. He doesn't really have that father figure in the family. And he's getting himself into lots of trouble that he shouldn't be. He's shoplifting, doing all this sort of thing. And she's trying her best with limited resources to raise her son. So she buys him the guitar, he doesn't want the guitar, and she ends up learning to play the guitar. That's the basic story. She it mentions the washed up LA musician. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, she sort of connects with him online. He teaches her guitar, so he's giving her guitar lessons, and it turns out being almost like a little psychiatry visit, because they talk to each other about stuff in their life. He's trying to get a bit deeper underneath her sort of brash persona that she puts across. He's much gentler, much of a relaxed, laid back sort of guy, and she's very in your face, brash, vulgar, all the rest of it. Now, I 3/4 really enjoyed it. I liked her performance. Everyone's performance was fine, was really good. The young lad, her ex, Joseph Gordon, I can't think what he was called. I can't keep saying his name because I can't say it quick. And I was really invested in their relationship. When I say relationship, where they came from and went to, and the progression, and them opening up to one another. I don't like romantic movies generally. They're not my cup of tea. But I was beginning to really sort of feel their relationship. I really liked it. And then, as we approached the end of the movie, it started to get really sentimental, and it started to get, let's all sing a song and be really happy, and it didn't fit for me with the rest of the film. The rest of the film was quite gritty. I loved the performances, I loved the honesty of it, and then it became, and please forgive me anyone out there in America for me saying this, then it became really American. It lost all of its gritty charm, it lost its edge, its roughness, and it became, let's tie it up with a little bow and everything's really nice. And it ended really fast as well. We had this slow film play out that I was really enjoying, and then it ended like that in a really slushy, sentimental manner that I just thought was completely naff. Didn't like the ending at all. It took it down. I've given it a 3.5 because I did like 3/4 of the movie. But the ending completely ruined it for me, so I would say it's worth a watch. Because if you can get someone like me that does not like romance movies to sort of be invested in a blossoming romance, then you're doing something right. So that was Flora and Son. And finally, last night I finished The Fall of the House of Usher. You can see there I've given it a 4.5 out of 5. I don't need to go into too much detail with this. This is Mike Flanagan's newest TV project. It's based on the works of Edgar Allan Poe. I didn't know the story of The Fall of the House of Usher. I know I like Edgar Allan Poe, I should do, but the main reason is The Raven that I'm obsessed with. I absolutely love that piece of writing. So I watched 2 episodes of this and I thought, well, it's good, but it's no way anywhere near the elevation of any of the other stuff of his I've watched. I'm enjoying it, but not properly. I think I was doing too much scrolling on the old phone and I needed to put it down and pay proper attention, and I did last night. I watched the remaining 4, were there 8 episodes? So I must have watched 6 yesterday, or at least 5. So I finished it last night, and as I watched it and as I paid attention, it just got fantastic. I don't want to tell you anything about the story. If you don't know anything about the actual story of The Fall of the House of Usher, I won't tell you because I myself knew nothing. It basically follows this guy at the head of a family, loads of kids, and they're very rich, they're very powerful, they're very influential, and obviously the name is The Fall of the House of Usher, so all of that's going to come tumbling down. Every single episode is named after like a piece of writing of Edgar Allan Poe's or a reference to something. His granddaughter's called Lenore, which obviously is the name of the main lady in the poem, the Raven. We have a raven that is symbolic throughout this entire series. We have a character whose name is an anagram of Raven. There's just so many little digs and references to different pieces of his work, some of which will have gone completely over my head because I don't know his work inside out. There are several characters. There's like a person that works for the family, and I think his name is Arthur Pym, and that's a character from another story. There's just loads and loads of references. It's, as you would expect from Mike Flanagan, it's beautifully shot, it's very dark, and I don't mean, well, it's dark in both ways. It's dark as in to look at, and it's dark as in subject matter. I think you sort of need to give this, or maybe it's just me, with me generally with anything, I need to give it a little bit before I make my mind up. The first 2 episodes of Game of Thrones I watched, I didn't like Game of Thrones at all. Somebody said, watch the whole first season and then make your mind up, and then I adored it, I loved it. And with this, the first 2 episodes I wasn't feeling it, but when I gave it the rest I really enjoyed it. The last 2 episodes especially are fantastic. In the last episode itself, we get loads of the poem, The Raven, in it, spoken by one of the characters, which I just, as much as I can hear that poem, I absolutely love it. But it sort of, everything slowly weaves its way to fit these pieces of writing, and we have characters say things. It's not out of context, it's not jarring, it fits with the scene, and it's absolutely beautiful. So, big thumbs up for The Fall of the House of Usher. I'm trying to think where it comes, like in line with all the others. I would say my favourites probably still are Midnight Mass and The Haunting of Hill House, but this would come third. I would say I preferred it to The Haunting of Bly Manor, what's that one? I'm terrible at remembering, the one with the kids in the big house. I like that as well, most people didn't. I would say this is like second or third on their list, but definitely well worth a watch. If you haven't seen it as yet, sit down and give it some attention. All of the cast have appeared in previous stuff of Mike Flanagan, so you'll pretty much recognise everyone you see in this. The acting's all perfect, nothing's jarring. They did replace the guy that plays the main, like Mr. I think it's Roderick Usher is his name, plays the father. He had to be replaced halfway through filming, because the original guy that had been hired, it came to light that he had, is coming to light all over the place, that he had been behaving inappropriately with female cast members. He was sacked, this guy was brought in and he had to like record loads of stuff that was already done, and he did a stellar job, fantastic job. So yeah, 4.5 out of 5 for The Fall of the House of Usher. So that is it this week. Thankfully some decent stuff this week, because last week was just terrible. Let me just click that off. So that is it for this week, guys. I have played a bit more Assassin's Creed Mirage. I am enjoying it. It's difficult. It's much harder than the last ones, purely because members of the public just can't mind their own business, and when I'm sneaking up and killing people, they're telling on me, they're shouting, women are having hysterics. You get your notoriety built up. They put wanted posters up for you, so I keep having to traipse about getting rid of the wanted posters. And every time I find a wanted poster, there's some silly bitch looking at it, and then she sees me trying to take it down and she starts shouting again. So yeah, it's something else. But sorry, I'm just saving that file. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. So that'll be probably the game I'll be playing for the next several months at least, until something else comes out. I still need to go back to 2 games that I haven't finished, one being God of War Ragnarok and the other being Ghost of is it? I can't say it. It's not Tsushima, it's that one. The Ghost of Tsushima or something, I can't pronounce it. So 20 minutes, that's not too bad. Thank you for watching, guys. I shall be back next week with another one I've watched. Let me know what you thought of anything I've watched this week, and I shall look forward to speaking to you next week. Over and out from Lisa Loves.